Yes, children, so far we learned about popular methods of decorating and dyeing clothes, isn't it? Yes, tie and dye is a popular method in Rajasthan, making designs of bandhani, isn't it? Yeah, then block printing, we learned block printing, wooden blocks dipped into paints and pressed onto the cloth. Yes, it is block printing. And kalamkari design, it is so famous in Bihar. Kalamkari, it involves designs of different paintings of designs on clothes using some special pen. That's why the name called Kalamkari. Then embroidery work done using different colorful threads and needles. They used colorful threads to do different patterns on clothes. So there are many famous embroidery designs in different places like fall work of Jammu Kashmir, Fulkari of Punjab, Khanda work of West Bengal are different kinds of embroidery. These are some of the popular methods of designing clothes and decorating and dyeing clothes. And Indian textile industry is the second largest industry in the world. The first one is China. China's textile industry is so famous. So it is the first biggest industry in the world. Second place is for India. Now the next popular method of designing cloth or dyeing cloth is ikat, I-K-A-T. Ikat, we say this involves the dyeing of threads into different colors. Threads, using threads of different colors they do this, and then weaving them on a loom. So at first they give color to the threads, then they weave that on a loom. Weave these threads on a loom. Loom is an apparatus or a device used to make clothes. Okay. Yes. So then they weaving them on a loom to obtain a cloth with design. And Odisha is famous for ikat. Odisha it is famous for ikat design. You can see the image here. Okay. So threads, first they dye the threads, they give color to the threads, and then these threads they weave them on a loom to give cloth, to make cloth with design. And Odisha is famous for ikat design. Then the last one is batik, B-A-T-I-K, batik. This involves drawing a design on a piece of cloth. Batik means first they draw a design on a piece of cloth, then they spread spreading wax over the design and letting it to cool. Wax means what? Wax is a yellowish, W-A-X, wax, yellowish sticky substance produced by bees, isn't it? Bees produce wax, yellowish sticky substance. It is wax actually. So first they draw a design on a piece of cloth, then on that cloth they spread this wax over that design and they'll allow it to cool. After cooling, what happens? Before it is dipped in color, the wax is broken. Then the wax gets broken, then they dip into the color, and many colors are used in this method. So this is called batik design. Actually first they draw design on a cloth. After drawing, they spread wax on it. Then afterwards they allow it to cool. Before dipping it into the color, the wax gets broken, and many colors are used in this method. It is called batik, and batik design you can see here in the image, this batik design. Okay. Yes, so these are the popular methods of designing fabrics and dyeing clothes. So which are the popular methods? Dyeing is actually adding color to the clothes. Yes, and tie and dye means it is famous in Rajasthan, and it is done by tying up some area of clothes very tightly, and the rest of the cloth they give color. Then tied up area is opened to get design called bandhani design, and here they use new colors by mixing the primary colors. So when they mix red yellow they get orange, when they mix black red they get maroon, when they mix blue and red they get magenta, When they mix blue and yellow, they get green. When they mix red and green, they get yellow. When they mix yellow color and green color, they get lime color. So like this, many colors they create and they do this design bandhani. Then we learned about block printing. Block printing is the wooden blocks they dip into the paint, then they press to the cloth. Example, bedspreads. Many block printing we can see on bed sheets. Kalamkari. Kalam means pen itself. So using special pen, they do some painting or design on fabrics. And Bihar is famous for kalamkari design. Embroidery. Next one is embroidery. We have there are many different kinds of embroidery are there. Many places are famous for different kinds of embroidery. So embroidery is done with needle and thread. Colorful threads they use for embroidery. Then ikat. Ikat is a famous design in Odisha. Actually, this involves dyeing of threads. Threads they first dye, then they weave them into a loom to obtain cloth with design. That is ikat. Then batik we learn. Batik, this involves drawing a design on a piece of cloth. Then they spread wax on it. Then they allow it to cool. Before it dip into the color, wax gets broken. So like that, many colors they use for this batik design. Yes, these are the popular methods. Yes, students, so we learned about pottery, about potter's wheel, isn't it? Early men, they when they started agriculture, they felt the need of storing grains in vessels. So they started making pot. Actually, how potters make clay pots. Clay is mixed with water to make a duff. Then once the duff is needed, they put it on the wheel. After that, the wheel is rotated fast for some time. Then the potter shapes the clay with his hands. Once it's shaped, it is ready. It is separated from the wheel using a thin thread. Afterwards, they dry it under the sun or placing in the fire to make it hard. Then they give designs and give some glazing to smoothen it, etc. This is the way how the potter makes a pot, a clay pot. And there are different uses of clay pots. Yes, we learned about that also. They are used for boiling milk, then for growing plants. Then to set the curd, they use earthen pot, and to prepare some dishes like kulfi and kheer. They use earthen pot to store water in summer, like matka, surahi. In these pots, they store water in summer. So these are some uses of clay pots. Then we learned about clothes. After pottery, we learned about clothes. So we know that clothes protect us from heat, cold, rain, dust and all. It protects our body, isn't it? Yes, we look good when we wear clothes. So early men, those days, they don't know to make clothes. Those days they cover the body using skin of animals and leaves. Then after slowly, what happened? Yes, after many years, people learned to make clothes. So first they learned about weaving and knitting. Weaving is a method of producing the clothes by keeping two distinct threads, by interlocking them at right angles. It is weaving. Then knitting. They do using some knitting machine and knitting needle. They make sweaters, they make mufflers, gloves, blankets, etc. So these are the method of producing fabrics or clothes, weaving and knitting that we learned. Then we learned about textile. Yes, it is a material that woven from a yarn. Yes, we get cotton from cotton plant. So then first cotton spun into yarn, then we make the cloth. Same like that, we get wool from sheep, and from the hair from the body of the wool we get the hair, which is so soft and thick. It is cleaned and spun into wool, and then we prepare clothes, make clothes from wool, isn't it? Yes. So there are some popular methods of decorating and dyeing fabrics. We add color to the fabric. So we add color to the clothes. So it is called dyeing, and the method includes our tie and dye. In this method, the area of cloth gets tied up tightly, some area, the other area they give dye or color, and when the tied area opened, it forms different patterns called bandhani, and Rajasthan is famous for tie and dye. Then we learned about and in tie and dye they use different colors. By mixing primary colors they get new colors. Then we learned about block printing. Wooden blocks dips in the paints and then press onto the cloth to get different patterns. Example, bed spreads or block printing on bed sheets we say. Then kalamkari, kalam means pen, so using a special pen, they paint some designs on clothes, and Bihar is famous for kalamkari. Then we learned about embroidery. It is done with needle and threads. They use colorful threads to do embroidery work, and different places are famous for different kinds of embroidery. Fulkari for Punjab, Kanta work of West Bengal that we learned. Then ikat. Ikat is famous in Odisha. This involves dyeing of threads into different colors. Threads gets colored and then weaving them on a loom. Loom is an apparatus or a device to make cloth. Then with design they make the cloth on a loom. Then we learned about batik. This involves what? First they give a design, draw a design on a piece of cloth, then they spread wax on it and allow it to cool. Before it is dipped in the color, the wax get broken, and many colors are used in this method. Words to remember. Kneaded means making duff with hands. With hands we will make the duff. It is called kneading or kneaded. Chapati flour, how we will make the flour and water mix, we will make a duff, and using hands we will knead it. Yarn, spun thread used for knitting. Yarn means it's a thread that we use for knitting, weaving or sewing. Okay, yes. Textile is what? Is a type of cloth. Textile is a type of cloth. Yes, so brush up. Let's recall. Objects made out of wet clay are called pottery. Pottery means what? The objects that made out of wet clay. A potter's wheel is used to make pots. Yes, potter's wheel we used to make pots. Steps involved in making pottery are collecting clay. First we need to collect the clay, then making a pot, then shaping it, glazing it and baking it. These are the steps involved in making pottery. First we need to mix the clay, make the clay. After making the clay, we make the pot in the potter's wheel. Then in potter's wheel potter will shape it. He give glazing to it for smoothen it. Then bake it, isn't it? Dry under the sun. Then a textile is a material that is woven from yarn. It is a material made of artificial fiber or natural fiber and woven from yarn. Then yarn means it's a thread used for knitting, weaving and all. Tie and dye, kalamkari, block painting, embroidery, ikat and batik are ways to make designs on clothes. These are the popular methods or ways to make designs on cloth or fabrics. Tie and dye, kalamkari, block painting or block printing, embroidery, ikat and batik are the popular designs, popular ways to make designs on cloth. Life skills. On the festival like Diwali, always purchase clay products. By this you will be helping potters who are struggling for the living nowadays. Yes, nowadays people mostly they won't use clay pots or items made from clay. Very less people are using, isn't it? Yes, because number of other utensils are available for making for cooking and all. So people use those utensils more than clay pots and all. So at least in Diwali festival, during Diwali festival time, if you are buying clay diyas, to decorate our homes. It will be more helpful for the potters because they are struggling for their lives, because if you buy these clay pots made from clay from them, then they get some money, so it will be so helpful to them. So it is good to buy, or it is helpful for the potters if you buy clay diyas from them using during Diwali festival, because they are struggling for living nowadays, poor potters, isn't it? Yes. So you must buy clay pots or clay diyas whenever you need. You can, like, in that way you can help the potters. So now we completed the lesson 19, pottery and textiles. So children, read the lesson thoroughly, word by word you should read nicely. If there is any hard spelling, spell each letter and learn it, and read the lesson nicely, go through the main points, okay, and the brush up points and all the words to remember. Yes, everything you should read, okay. Now though I completed the lesson, so now you can read the full lesson. So read lesson, okay, whenever we are completing a lesson, you have to read it thoroughly. After reading, it will be easy for you to write question answer or fill in the blanks, whatever exercises are there. If you read the lessons once or twice, it will be easy for you to answer them. Okay children, so read the lesson thoroughly, okay.